Can we please make an intro or like a one of the little clip art something or whatever that's Mary and Gagan and just have it be really wacky? I want that for us.
Ready? Let's...
Mary and Gagan
Show. It's the Mary and
Mary and Gagan show.
There you go. That's it.
That sounded, when you did that noise, it sounded like the Manamenas from Sesame Street. Manamana. 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 Welcome to the show, folks. Stories from the trail. And only stories from the trail.
This is Stories from the Trail.
Funny you should mention food, because one of the things I did at the AT Kickoff last weekend was I had a lot of really good conversations with a lot of cool people, and I asked everybody something about food so that we can take their, little 5 or 10 second or 2 minute clips or whatever and put them into this food episode we keep talking about doing.
You realize the food episode is going to end up being like 2 hours or more, because I could talk about food for a good, 4 hours straight.
I'm going to put some recipes in there, some how-to.
Really?
I think so.
That sounds like a great idea. That's a great idea.
Speaking
like
of
trail
food
recipes? We're talking strictly trail food?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so are we going to differentiate too between like long distance hiking food and like luxury glamping food, luxury camping, glamping?
We're going to cover all that stuff.
Yes. It's a great idea. Although I don't really have any glamping food ideas.
I mean, the ultimate glamping food is to bring steak into the woods with you. Steak.
Or if you're a vegetarian, a full salad.
A couple of ears of corn. Wrap them in foil. Throw them on some hot coals. We found out the hard way, though. Cooking corn on pine doesn't taste nearly as good as you would think it does. It's pretty bad.
Really?
Yeah, pine smoke is not... Yeah, imagine that. If you want your corn to taste like a Christmas tree, I got the recipe for you.
I mean, I guess that does make sense. Also, when you think about the composition of pine, like it's not... When you think of burning pine, it's very like, it's smoky, but not smoky in like a hickory or a cedar smoke type of way. Yeah,
it's kind of bitter.
Yeah, I mean, have you ever
pitchy.
Like tasted pitch, like the sap and crap?
Oh yeah, it's disgusting.
Comes off of yeah. Although spruce trees, they used to, people used to chew spruce gum. Did you know this fun fact?
Did not know this.
Oh my gosh. My dad's dad was a outdoorsman, logger, jack of all trades, master of none sort of guy. And they used to chew spruce gum when they were logging. And you like wait for the spruce trees to like produce some sort of sap. It kind of comes through the bark. And it turns like this yellow pinkish color. And I can't remember whether it's supposed to be whether the yellow is when it's better or when it's pinkish that it's better. I don't know. But my dad cut some off of a tree one time and had me try some. And I chewed it for a good 45 minutes to give it a fair try. But he kept telling me because of my face, oh, you should really spit that out. Like you don't have to do this. You can turn around now. But it was texture similar to gum. Very, very bitter though. Not something I would recommend.
What are you supposed to get out of this? Is it nutrition or something? Or
no, it's an old fashioned gum. It's nature's gum. before we decided to take, I don't know how the heck we make gum these days. Like, who the heck knows what's in gum?
What's in Hubba Bubba? Does it even make that anymore? That's a tint, isn't it?
I think they still make it.
Big
but
League
you
Chew.
know, like this is like woodsman gum that, like, you know, nature's gum. You take it off of a tree. It's not like you're gonna carry gum in. This was like before they even made gum, and they used to sell it in stores too. Like, companies would manufacture spruce gum. They would harvest the sap and then manufacture it in some way. And by companies, I mean like your mom and pop stores probably. But they would make it and, you know, add a little bit of something to it to make it more palatable. But it was sold in like those little, you know, 1-cent candy store things.
I know you can make tea out of spruce tips. Like,
yes.
Just the very, like, the bright green ends of them. Do you remember there was a girl who was hiking? I don't know if she was hiking.
She's exactly the one I thought of. I think I ran into her in Virginia.
And I'm not sure she was hiking the trail so much as just kind of like living outside.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's the same person. Kind of dreadlocks, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yep. Kind of looked like, had this wood nymph vibe about her where.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Like I walked up on her and she was picking spruce tips. And I asked her, you know, just, you know, like casual, like, hey, how's it going kind of thing. And she was like, oh, it's such a beautiful day to be out here in nature. And, oh, look at the lovely spruce tips. They're so delicious. And like she reminded me of, what's that one hippie, the hippie and the Muppet band.
The Muppet Band?
The band that plays on the Muppet Show. You got Animal on drums, and then like a Stevie Nicks knockoff vocalist.
Right.
She had like that kind of like, yeah, man. But she had this big mesh bag that was just like bulging and overflowing with spruce tips. And I asked her what she was going to do with them, and she said, "It makes a delicious tea, dude."
Yeah, I totally had a very similar experience, except we didn't really talk that much, but. This is the same person.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, strange lady in the woods. We're a fan.
Oh, big time. Yep. I hope she's a listener. That'd be something, wouldn't it?
That would be really cool. I wish I knew her name. Other than calling her hippie lady in the woods with the spruce tips.
Yeah.
The hippie lady in the woods with the spruce tips. Sounds like Clue.
Well, spruce tip. That could be see, that's how trail names are born.
That is exactly how trail names are born. Hey, she's got a name now if she didn't before. I mean, she may not know about it, but we know.
Yeah. And I hope no one, I mean, like, we're not making fun. Like, you know.
No,
No, I really dug this chick. She was cool. And, you know, I sound like I'm doing a fake voice or whatever, but like, that's really how she spoke.
I really appreciate being able to learn all of these things from just random people I run into on the trail or just in life in general. But I didn't know you could make tea out of spruce tips.
Did you ever run
into... I learned when I ran into her, so thank you.
Did you ever run into Renaissance?
I heard the name. I don't remember if I ran into the person. Who is that?
This guy, he was a southbounder, and I met him just before we went into the Whites. And I think you were still like 2 or 3 days behind us at that point. So you would have
I may have still been in Vermont.
Might have still been in Vermont. But this guy.
I was hardcore through Vermont. Like, I didn't really say hi to people. So
you were like heads down, full on like Terminator mode.
Dude, I was the person who woke up in the shelter before it was sunny. And like, if it was raining, there was one morning it was raining outside. I got fully dressed, ate and everything without waking people up. And left before anybody else in the shelter woke up. And you hiked with me a lot in the beginning. You know that is like not how I roll.
No.
That sort of efficiency and timeliness in the morning is not my norm. So I was pretty hardcore in Vermont.
It's good that you can turn it on though. It's good you can flip that switch when you need to.
Oh, yeah. I can play both roles. I'm not going to be hardcore all the time because that's no fun. But I'm also not going to be a lazy ass all the time because, you know.
Right. Yeah.
What's the fun in that?
There's a bug on me.
Well, you are in a basement.
It's warming up down here, and flowers are blooming. Bugs are flying around. We've got gnats. I saw a dragonfly the other day.
No, you did not.
Yep.
I can't imagine seeing a dragonfly right now. I did tell you I'm in the middle of a nor'easter right now, right?
You did, yeah. We had one this morning
Yeah.
too. The snow, it lasted until like noon. And when I say it didn't like snow until noon. That's how long it took to melt.
Oh, it's like a tiny little dusting, and then it
Yeah.
just melts right out.
Yeah. When I looked out my window this morning, the sun hadn't come up yet, and the light actually, or the snow actually looked like highlights from moonlight. Like I couldn't even tell that it was snow until the sun came up. Just a tiny little.
Oh.
But I know you guys are getting dumped on up there, aren't you?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I left the office early today because we closed our office early because of the weather. And the roads were relatively clear. Like where my office is, the roads were pretty much clear. The snow was just starting to stick to it, but it's falling at like between 1 and 3 inches an hour. So by the time I got home, which is only a 20-minute, 30-minute drive with traffic, and everybody driving so slow, it's stupid. There was already like 1.5 inches or 2.5 inches on my deck when I got home.
Megan with the weather. We've got the news coming up at 12.
And here, this is going to continue
Voldemort
this way
in the traffic copter
all through the night. And expect heavier snowfalls around midnight. Expect snow falling at a rate of 1 to 3 inches.
She's giving the weather from a helicopter.
Possibly slowing down into the early morning, and lightening up through mid-morning and into the early afternoon. Be safe for your travels. I'll tell people what we always say up here. If you don't need to go on the road, don't do it.
Okay. That's fair
just
enough.
Don't. I might even just work from home tomorrow because I don't think it's going to stop until like early afternoon.
It's nice to have that option, isn't it?
It is really nice to have that option. I really enjoy it. I wouldn't be able to work in an office all the time. Dear future employers, I could probably work in an office.
I'll vouch for you. I'll vouch for Megan. She can probably work.
She can probably do her job if she knows what she's supposed to be doing. Or she'll make it up along the way, which is more likely.
So this Renaissance character.
Sorry, I totally derailed that. So Renaissance, tell me about Renaissance.
So he's going south, I'm going north. I see him right before we go into the Whites, and he's like fully decked out like a medieval bard. He looks like, like he's got so many feathers in his hat, and he's just. I think he had
feathers. I would have remembered feathers.
Yeah, and I think he had like an insane number of like necklaces and bracelets and stuff, and he kind of jingled a little bit while he walked. And I.
Oh, bear safety first.
No, not like bear bells. Like, I don't know. Like,
it could probably be effective as a bear bell if he had that much, right?
Oh, this guy, you knew he was coming because he was a spectacle. Before we even got like 20 yards apart, and he actually said, "Greetings, fellow traveler. How are you on this fine day?" Like, that's how Renaissance talked. And
I totally would remember that.
I was fully on board. I was like, yeah, I'm going to play along, and I started role playing with him, and I was like, outstanding, good sir. And how are you on this? Like I kept giving it back. And he said, "Tell me, good fellow, have you heard the legend of the seven? Have you heard the story of the 7 legendary bongs of the Whites?"
Oh, you told me about this. I heard, or I don't know, somehow I've heard about the 7 bongs of the Whites.
A bunch of other people ran into him, and he gave them the same thing. And he had like a story for each of these 7 hidden caches of, like places along the trail where you could find a pipe for sure, and probably some weed to go with it. And like he told us, like one of them was like the equipment locker, like the equipment shed out behind a ranger station, and the combination for the padlock was, he gave me the numbers for it, and he told me all these other things, like up in the rafters of the so and so shelter, and
what about the on Wildcat? There's a ski lodge on Wildcat. Was that one of them?
Is that the one that looks like it's a time traveler from the 80s? It's all like looks like a spaceship.
I think there was bad weather when I went through there, so I don't remember exactly what it looked like, but I know I had the code. It wasn't locked, so I went in anyways, but I had the code for it, and I don't remember how I got the code.
Yeah, stuff like that would get passed around through the hiker grapevine, and I'm sure
Yeah.
it still does. Like little things like, Renaissance's stories kind of, that's an outlier for sure, but, like, oh, here's a secret place that you can stay that's not on any of the guidebooks or,
Right.
neat stuff
Now,
like that.
the tale of the seven bongs of the whites, did
Yeah.
anyone ever actually try to find one and was successful finding one?
Yes and no. Yes, people tried, and I don't think anyone was ever successful. This is just...
So it's entirely possible that this Renaissance dude totally made up this story.
I don't know, man. I mean, he had feathers. He had a lot of feathers. He looked like he knew what he was talking about.
Gary's
I trust
litmus test for legitness is, does the one have feathers?
the more feathers, the more legit the story this guy's got to tell. I mean, right? I don't know.
Disclaimer, Gary always has a feather in his hat. So, I mean, this is kind of self-serving here.
Just one. Yeah. All right. So I went to the AT kickoff this weekend.
And how was that?
Have you ever been to one?
No, I have not. I haven't been to any of like the big hiker gathering type things other than the gathering. Mostly just because of the convenience of timing and location. So where was the ATKO this year? Or is it always in the same place? It's always at Amicalola, right?
It's always at Amicalola Falls.
Oh, see, I'm not
one of the
making this
most
up. I've heard of it.
beautiful waterfalls and trickiest names to say. Amicalola
And the most number of stairs.
Falls. Yeah, it's famous because there's a visitor center there, right across from the visitor center.
Beautiful.
Oh yeah. Right behind. Okay, we'll go across later, but behind the visitor center, there's a stone arch that marks the beginning of the world famous approach trail. 8 miles of, 8 miles of basically the same stuff you're going to get on the AT. And
8 miles of up.
8 miles of up. Yep. And that gets you to Springer Mountain, which is the official start. But I'm telling you, I'm going on record now. I'm saying it now. I'm putting it out there. I say the start gets moved to Amicalola Falls at some point within the next 10 years. I'm thinking they make that the official
I put money
start.
on that.
First of all, Springer, they have an advisory in place right now that the road that gets you to the parking lot at Springer Mountain is inaccessible unless you have four-wheel drive. And even then, it's kind of iffy.
Really? I didn't know that piece.
Yeah, it's some shitty road down there. And Amicalola Falls, you just drive right up. Plus, about
you do.
half a mile of nice paved road uphill from the visitor center is the lodge, which is this beautiful, like 3 or 4 story. I don't know how many. They've got at least 100 or so rooms. A pretty decent.
That's what I was thinking of when I said it's beautiful. That the lodge.
It's a really classy joint.
I mean, I guess the whole park is gorgeous, but yeah, the lodge is really great. I mean, I stood there with my pack and looked out like from inside the lodge and looked out the big windows to look at the mountains. And I was wearing like leggings and I already kind of looked like a little bit of a hiker. Didn't look like hiker trash just yet, but I still felt kind of out of place because it was so nice.
Yeah. It's a nice place. Like there are vacationers there who are wearing like button down shirts and khakis.
Yeah, they're there for the view, not for the hiking.
And the hot chocolate.
Oh, I didn't have the hot chocolate.
Yeah, there's good hot chocolate there. But the view it's amazing. They've got this balcony that's about as long as a football field and big floor to ceiling windows inside, this, I guess it can be used as a banquet space or we used it as the room for presentations over the weekend. You can fit about 100 chairs in there and a projector and a screen.
Oh,
but
nice.
all of that whole wall is just floor to ceiling windows and you're looking out into the Appalachian Mountains and you can see Mount Oglethorpe from there, which used to be the official start of the AT.
Jeez, I didn't know that. I feel like I should know that.
I can't remember when they moved it to Springer, but Gene Espy started at Oglethorpe.
Oh.
Yeah.
Jeez, I really should have known that. I should probably study up on my AT history.
Well, that's,
AT history.
the AT kickoff is a good place to do that. And as you know, you mentioned earlier, you've been to the Gathering. That's a good place to do that too. Why don't you say a little bit about the Gathering, and I'll see, I've been to both. And as you describe the Gathering, I'll say how it's the same or different from the kickoff.
Okay. Well, so the Gathering is put on by ALDHA, ALDHA, which is the Appalachian Long Distance Hikers Association.
Right.
And it's an annual gathering that moves. That's the key thing. The kickoff is down in Amicalola every year. The Gathering moves each year. And it goes between, let's see, last year, where was it last year? Was it
in Pennsylvania
Virginia
last
year?
Oh, that's right. It came all the way south to Virginia. That's the furthest south it's been.
So they try to switch it between north and south so that people who, live on opposite sides or ends of the country can go without having to travel too far. So it was in Virginia last year. I think the year before was in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania, and the year before that was in Mass and then Pennsylvania, something like that.
Right. So they move it around.
So it gets moved around a lot.
And it's at the end of the, quote unquote, end of the hiking season.
Yeah, it's at the end of the hiking season. But there are a lot of people that go that are not they're not through hikers. There are a lot of through hikers there, don't get me wrong, but there are a lot of people who go that are involved with the Appalachian Trail in other capacities, whether it be with trail maintenance, with some sort of conservation effort or fundraising, or supporting hikers along the way, or providing alternate activities to do that are in and around the Appalachian Trail, or other trails, even though it is the Appalachian Long Distance Hikers Association. There are a lot of people that do a bunch of different things that get involved and that go there. But it's not like a big party or anything like that. It's a pretty structured weekend full of workshops and vendors and that sort of thing. Gary, do you think I'm characterizing this correctly?
Oh, very good. Yes. Yep. So that's a really good description of the Gathering. The AT kickoff is very similar. It's not put on by ALDHA, although ALDHA is there. It's put on by the Amicalola Falls Visitor Center. And it's also a coordinated effort between them and I think Bob Sir Paxalot of Top of Georgia Hostel helped organize the event this year. I know he was completely in charge a few years ago before the Visitor Center took over, but it kind of keeps changing hands. It's interesting because it stays in the same place and it seems to be run by different people each time. So it's, completely 180 from the Gathering in that sense.
Right.
But it's also not a party either. So it's not like, just an excuse to come together and like get drunk in the woods and stuff. But it's, there are seminars and speakers and, like you said, gear vendors and presenters. And
are there a lot of people who are going to this that are currently like about to start their hike, and this is what they start their through hike with?
Yes. Not as many this year as last year, though. It's interesting. This year had more of a kind of like a family reunion vibe to it. There were a lot of people there who were there last year. A lot of people who completed their hikes last year. But I think I saw about, this will give you an idea of how, it's kind of a small, intimate event compared to trail days, which, like shuts an entire city down for 3 days. At the kickoff, I think this year I met like five people who were starting their through hikes that weekend.
Oh, that's not many at all.
It's not. And if you look at the registration that the AT Conservancy maintains, like there were at least 50 people per day registered to start. So I think, not a lot of people knew that the kickoff was actually happening. Wasn't really a lot of chatter or buzz on social media about it before, a few Facebook posts, and that's about it. If you come in to visit the park, like there weren't even any signs down by the visitor center that said AT kickoff this way, or you just kind of had to know it was there.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Huh.
But
I wonder if that's intentional because of the increase of through hikers. Maybe they didn't want it to turn into a trail day sort of sort of thing. I don't know.
Well, they've never really needed signage before because it's always been, a really small, just kind of word of mouth event. The hiking community it's just now starting to, what's the word I'm looking for? Crescendo. It's starting to grow.
Yeah, I think that's the right word to use there.
Yeah. And
that's true because I didn't do too much like social media stuff when I hiked. I mean, I knew it was out there, but it seems like it's much more prevalent now, even just over a few years.
I think so.
You're
right.
Social media.
Yeah, I didn't even know that there were AT-related Facebook groups until the year after we did our hike. Or actually, I think I found out like towards the end, and that's how people were keeping track of each other.
Yeah, I think one existed, but I didn't know about it because Miss Janet told me about it, and I had no idea. I had no idea it even existed.
I was trying to figure out what I wanted to talk about next. I'm looking at this list of made a lot of really good recordings this weekend, and I think what I want to do is let's talk about the schedule for the kickoff. What happened?
That sounds like a lot of fun scheduling.
There was a lot of stuff. Yeah. Well, it's all on hiker time too, which means start and stop times are not. Yeah, we did a pretty good job of staying on schedule, but we had some people not show up, and like Gene was on the schedule, and I don't know why he wasn't there. Let's see. Okay, so Friday night, we've started to develop kind of a Friday night tradition for the kickoff, and I'm really happy to be part of it.
Oh,
I'm really
part of it.
I'm super lucky that they allow me to be part of it.
So what is the new Friday night tradition?
Well, the Friday night lineup is it starts with Bob Sir Pax-a-Lot Gabrielson from the Top of Georgia Hiking Center. That's the hostel at mile 69 on the AT. And every year he gives a talk that he calls the 10 golden suggestions for hiking the Appalachian Trail. And it's instead of 10 golden rules, it's 10 golden suggestions.
Because hike your own hike.
That's one of them. Yep. I think it's like hike your own hike and be mindful or something like that. But Bob let me record his presentation, so I just put the microphone in front of him and let him do his thing. So
nice.
Yeah, I've got the entire audio for that. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I don't know if I want to just.
You could pick and choose a few things here and there that stand out.
And I think that's what we'll do. And I also got to spend some time in a room with Bob in some quiet space. You'll hear in some of this audio, there's a lot of talking in the background because there were a ton of people there. But Bob and I spent some time together, and I also recorded his presentation on Friday night. And I think what I'll do is I'll, kind of combine them, little clips from each instead of just putting the whole thing out there.
Oh, yeah.
We'll just do a Bob episode.
That's a good idea.
I don't know when. But after Bob, the closing, like the headliner for Friday night is a guy, thing called "The Trail is Full of Surprises" by a guy named Gary Sizer.
Oh, that sounds familiar. I think I might know him.
Yeah,
I think I read his book too.
Yep, that's it. That's me. That's the guy. So yeah, I had a lot of work to do at the kickoff this weekend because I have a table where I sign books and sell books, and I give a presentation on Friday night. The trail is full of surprises, and of course I recorded that whole thing.
Of course, because you always have a microphone wherever you go. Did you take your actual microphone with you?
I actually brought my mobile studio with me. I brought the Zoom H5 and my USB microphone so that I could interview people.
What's the Zoom H5?
Zoom H5 is it's a portable digital mixer, 3-channel or 4 virtual channel mixer. So like I can record, I have one microphone plugged in and then have like a line from a telephone plugged in, so I can record phone calls, or I can have 2 microphones, or.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
And it has like a built-in.
I'm trying to get an idea of the setup that you've got going there.
Yeah,
when you're portable.
It's a little bigger than hand sized. It's a little too big to fit in your hand, but it's not like super heavy. It's about the size of like an old telephone. Like those old cordless phones.
Like a corded one or cordless?
About the size of a phone. Not like an iPhone or something, but like it's about as long as a banana and as wide as a deck of cards.
Okay. Oh, so you're talking like the first cell phone?
Yeah, something like that. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a black box with some
the first
some
cell
buttons
phone before the Nokia track phones were all the rage.
Yeah, it's kind of a brick too. Like I don't think you're supposed to drop it, but
yeah, I wouldn't recommend dropping it. I don't know how much you paid for it, but if it's over $5, don't drop it.
It's on loan from our good friend Travis.
Oh, well then screw it. Do whatever you want with it.
Well,
I'm kidding. Sorry, Travis.
He doesn't listen. He doesn't know.
He doesn't listen. Oh, well,
I think he listens to every episode
Travis.
like 4 times each.
He did listen to every episode 4 times each?
He listens to them more than I do.
Really?
I don't know. Yeah.
Bravo.
All right.
Sorry you had to listen to my voice that much, Travis.
Hi, Travis. Okay. So, so Friday night's usually pretty short. Nothing really gets started until dinner time. The afternoon is mostly people like setting up tables and just kind of like wandering around saying hi to each other.
Slowly moving in.
Yeah. So there's like this big, that hallway with the windows that you're talking about, standing out there and looking at the mountains. That space is full of tables and displays and tents. There's like a whole room full of people who have written books. I wasn't the only author there. There's a few.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Tom Kennedy from Hike for Mental Health was there. He asked if he could set up a tent inside the inside the vendor area, that indoor space with the big windows, and they told him yes. And he brought one of those outdoor vendor tents that's like 15 feet tall and like 30 by yeah, it was kind of amazing. And there's enough room in there for it too, because it's a big space. So Tom has this massive bright orange vendor tent with like all like it's anchored down for for the wind.
Oh my gosh. Gotta protect it from the wind.
Mm-hmm. But
oh my gosh, that's
Tom and I got to talk for a little bit too, and I thought that was kind of a interesting conversation because in addition to, are you familiar with his organization, Hike for Mental Health?
I am actually. I've gone to a couple of their presentations at the ALDHA gathering, and one of my goals is to be more involved in general in the AT community, and then also in that organization.
Yeah, Tom's a pretty solid guy. He and I had a good conversation. We talked a lot about not just what his organization does, which is, I'll let him go into the details of it, but essentially they raise money for, as you would probably guess, mental health awareness and treatment and prevention. And one of the things that, we talked about was, we're still trying to fight the stigma that goes along with mental health issues.
And anything you want people to know, and then we'll just go from there.
I'm Tom Kennedy, Vice President and co-founder of a great organization, Hike for Mental Health.
How long has Hike for Mental Health been around?
We started in December of 2011.
2011.
Yeah.
Okay.
2011.
Okay. And why?
It's a funny story. 3 souls came together at a Holiday Inn in Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey. I was living right next to the Holiday Inn, so I would eat dinner there all the time. There was Leo Walker, who is the president of Hike for Mental Health. He was living in Toronto at the time, and Nancy Kenizeki, who is our secretary, she was living in Pearland, Texas, near Houston. And they were there on business, and I was there because I lived there. And we met, and we realized we all like to hike, and we did some hikes together. And one day over dinner, we were talking, and we wanted to do something to give back. It's something to do with hiking. So Leo said to me, all right, let's think about this. Why do we hike? And I immediately said, we hike for mental health because we feel so much better after we hike, And we didn't know it at the time, but that's when Hike for Mental Health was conceived, and it was born the following month in December is when we started it.
Wow. Yeah. So what does Hike for Mental Health do, the organization itself?
What we do is we raise money for mental health research. 80% of what we raise goes to the Brain and Behavior Research Foundation. They're a great organization located in New York. They give $50,000 grants to scientists that are on the cutting edge of breakthrough research but have not been funded yet. Once these scientists get funded, it's easier for them to get funded again. 10% goes to the Appalachian Trail Conservancy. Our last check we gave them was $11,250.
Wow.
And we also give 10% to the Pacific Crest Trail.
Okay.
And what we do is we have hikers on the AT, on the Appalachian Trail, who are through hiking, and they register their hike, and they tell all their friends and family what they're doing, and then they just go out and hike. And it's the same with the PCT. Every other year we get one hiker on the CDT, and then we do day hikes all over the country. We have day hikes, and we have a wonderful Summit Mount Washington hike up in New Hampshire we do every August, and we usually have about 80 to 100 people that show up for that one. Cool. And it's very cool.
Yeah, I see your logos and your shirts, and I see you guys all over the place too. I figure,
it's really it's so satisfying to hear that, and when.
Yeah, you're known.
Yeah.
You're a known quantity now.
We were doing a hike with actually Susan Letcher from the Barefoot Sisters to Sunfish Pond a couple of years ago. And there was a couple on this hike that looked out of place. They didn't look like real hikers. They were college age, and they just didn't look like they fit in. They were having a good time and everything, but you could just tell. So I said to them, I said, what made you guys want to come on this hike, And they're like, well, we're psych majors at William Patterson College in New Jersey, and our professor, we have to do something, and this was on the list of what to do. And I was like, we were on a list that a college professor gave you? And all the other hikers are like, Tom, you made a list? It's like, so it's just really cool, that we are getting well known now.
So what do you think about, do you think there even still is a stigma that goes along with just the phrase mental health? I think some people, it seems, are still even reluctant to speak about it.
Absolutely. One of the things you find on our hikes, and there's a couple of things I want to point out, we're trying to eliminate the stigma of mental illness. When I was a child, there used to be a big stigma about breast cancer. When nobody would ever talk, actually all cancer, but especially breast cancer. And that's gone now. Now it's Save the Tatas, And we're trying to do the same thing with the stigma of mental illness. So many times, I feel sometimes like a priest, because I'll be on the trail, and people come up to me and they'll go, Tom, we love what you're doing, thank you so much, please don't tell anybody, but I'm bipolar, but I feel so comfortable here. And I was like, you can talk about whatever you want here, it doesn't go anywhere else. None of us have the stigma, we don't care about, we're not stigmatizing you because you have mental illness, We're loving the fact that you're recognizing it and coming out with it. The governor of Texas is not so much a real proponent of mental health, So last February 1st, Wednesday is the day most people take their life. So February 1st last year, you would think it would be Monday, but it's Wednesday. Last February 1st was a Wednesday, and I left Houston, and I hiked to Austin via San Antonio. I took the long way, about 270 miles. And I had 800 postcards from around the country that said, let's eliminate the stigma of mental illness. Now, I didn't carry all 800 of them because I wouldn't be able to carry water or anything else, but I carried 100 of them symbolically. And Leo, my partner in hiking mental health, met me in San Antonio. And so I got to the governor's office on March 1st, which was also a Wednesday. So I left on a Wednesday, I got there on a Wednesday, and I knew they were in session, so I knew I was going to get to see the governor. But I got to his office and his secretary, and she was like blown away that I walked in. The last mile I had photographer and reporters, and it was like, I was like almost like paparazzi, people running in front of me taking pictures. And but I had put all the 800 postcards that Leo brought and dumped them in my pack. And Leo says, aren't you going to leave them in the bag? I'm like, they didn't come in a bag. Absolutely not. I just dumped them in my pack. And so I said to the girl, I said, can I leave some postcards for the governor? And she's like, absolutely. I said, you'll make sure he gets them? And she goes, absolutely, I'll make sure. So I start spreading stuff around on her desk, and I take my pack and I dump 800 postcards on her desk. And she looks at me, she goes, do you have a bag? And I was like, no, they didn't come in a bag. So, and that
she
was
said, what are you doing? Are you crazy? No.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was an insane thing to do, to be honest with you. If I knew how dangerous that was, I never would have done it again.
Oh, yeah?
You had semis rolling by at 80 miles an hour right next to you, not big shoulders, and
Yeah.
it was pretty insane. I don't know what I was thinking, but I did it, and and I got in some newspaper articles and stuff, and it was pretty cool.
What is your personal relationship with mental health in general? Do you mind
No, not
expanding
at all.
on that?
My sister suffered from depression. My mom had something going on. I don't know what it was, but she had a prescription for Valium,
Right.
and she would drink wine a lot. And there were times growing up as a kid at 5 o'clock in July, she would put us to bed, and we could hear all our friends out there playing. In broad daylight at 5 o'clock in New Jersey. In July, but she would just put us to bed, and that was it and stuff. So I don't know really what my mother had. I don't think it was ever diagnosed that way, but my sister suffered from depression, and I would see her when she wouldn't be taking her medication. I'd go over her house, she'd be laying in bed, and like, "You're not taking your medication?" It's like, "Yes, I am." I'm like, "No, you're not. I can hear it in your voice, and it's 11 o'clock in the morning, and you're still laying in bed." It's like, Leo's mother suffered from schizophrenia, and they weren't allowed to talk about it at all, and he had a wonderful mother. When she was good, she was just like this wonderful woman, but she suffered from schizophrenia, and there were some bad times also. He couldn't have any friends over to his house growing up as a kid, and so and we just
I can relate. We have I have similar story from my my family too. I personally have dealt with depression and anxiety, and I've mostly gotten over.
Right.
You never really
Right.
get
There's
over.
still time.
You
Yeah.
learn to recognize and manage.
Right.
My aunt, my mother's sister, was born in I think like 1950. Born premature, so she was developmentally challenged. Of course, in the 50s they called him retarded.
Yes, yes.
Closed him off in a part of the house where no one could, and,
Yep.
and it was just kind of interesting to see how much things have changed even since I grew up in the 70s.
Right.
Now the way we're
There's still a long way to go.
acknowledging at least.
But we've come a long way, but there's still such a long way to go. One of the big things you hear now is, especially with the political situation going on right now, you'll hear people use the F-tard word.
the what card?
F-tard.
Yep.
Right?
In online debates.
Oh,
and-
yes. You're just recording this so I can say,
Yeah.
fuck-tard.
Yeah,
It's like-
we're you can swear.
And I go on and I basically say, anybody uses any derogatory phrase with the word tard in it, I'm immediately blocking you. You're done. Okay, I'm not trying to be oversensitive, but that's a very, very offensive term to a lot of people. And so whether you're saying retard or fucktard or schmucktard or whatever, we know where it's coming from, And so if that's what you're going to do, you're instantly blocked. And then I get people trying to defend it, and I'm like, the best thing about Facebook is the block button. Boom, you're gone, So we have a really long way to go. And then the other thing is, when you have these terrible shootings in the schools and stuff, naturally people talk about mental illness at that point, but the vast majority, there's only a tiny speck of people with mental illness that are violent, Unfortunately, when you kill 20-something children just before Christmas in Connecticut, or you shoot up people, kids in school in Florida, that's going to make the headlines, The people who are managing their bipolar and stuff and living a great, productive life are not going to make the news.
No one ever hears that story.
Right.
So this is a question that I have my own version of the answer to this. Everyone probably has their own version to answer this. What is it about hiking that helps?
Well, it's a couple of things about hiking. This is Chipmunk, Eva Warren. She suffered from adolescent depression, and she hiked in 2013, became the youngest person to solo through hike the Appalachian Trail. And her parents followed along in a van. And I got to hike with her in New Jersey for 2 days, and it was a lot of fun. But her problem, she called it a 2,000-mile cry fest. So although hiking for a day or two in wilderness is great for just about anybody, sometimes people with depression, if they're hiking for months on end, you have an awful lot of time to ruminate.
Yeah.
And so for some people it works great. For others, so it's not a catch-all for everybody. But there's scientific fact, proven facts that time in nature helps people. It lowers blood pressure. It does so good. when you're out there. I mean, we all feel good, even if we're on a miserable, hard hike that we're hating when we're doing it. When we're done, it was great.
Yeah.
We feel great. It's like, okay, we did it.
Yeah. Cool. So tell us if somebody wants to help or learn more about Hike for Mental Health or contribute, or how can they get in touch with you or the organization?
You can go to our website, and there's actually a right thing. How can I help? And they can click on that.
And your website is?
Hike for Mental Health, www.hikeformentalhealth.com.
.com.
Okay. .org.
.org.
Right.
Gotcha.
If they put .com, will come up. If you just Google Hike for Mental Health in your phone, we come right up. Then you go on our website. You can lots of ways you can create a day hike for us, which we would love because we have these going on. And the way that works is you would click on create a hike. Lead a hike, and then you pick out the hike. Usually 5 to 6 miles works the best, because if you get somebody who's not a hiker and they hike 5 or 6 miles, they are just in love with themselves. They're like, I hike 5 or 6 miles. They think it's great, and it is great, So then you would
anything more than that is work.
Yeah, for people, because you want a vast majority. You want experienced hikers and inexperienced hikers.
Yeah.
And so you would pick out a hike. Let's say you were going to do the Jenny Jump in New Jersey, let's say. So you tell us the route that you're going to take, and then we do the research. We find out all the cool things about that hike. We create a page for it. This is what you're going to see. You have a lookout here, blah, 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 all of that. And then you tell all your friends and everything, listen, I'm doing this hike. Would you come and join me? And we promote it on our page, so anybody can come to that hike. And then they go to that page that we created describing the hike, and then they register, and we set up a donation page for them. So then they tell all their friends and relatives, I'm going to be doing this hike in New Jersey, the Jenny Jump Trail, and I'm doing it for Hike for Mental Health because I want to help eliminate the stigma of mental illness, and whatever the reason is, they create it. And then every single penny donated goes to the cause. Nobody takes a salary. We're all volunteer. Even if somebody makes a donation with $100 with a credit card, we pay the processing fee out of our pockets. So actually 100%. Now, when we started this back in 2011, our operating expenses were $2,000 a year. They're now about $17,000 a year. So we're getting to the point where we're going to, and we always knew we were going to get to this point, but now that we're at this point, it's like a double-edged sword, that we may have to eventually take 10%. What we're trying to do right now is we have one hike a year, and this is the Hike to Oktoberfest at Bear Mountain in New York. Okay. And it's a lot of fun hike.
That's a fun hike. That's straight up the side of...
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and then you come back for it ends at the Oktoberfest. And that's the only hike that we use that money for our operating expenses. And we explain that to everybody who signs up for it. This is not going to our cause. It's, directly to our cause. It's definitely going to our cause because we're not here. Our cause is gone. So it helps us offset our operating expenses. And it doesn't mean we put in less money. It just helps us to be able to keep growing.
Perfect.
Unless we can find this is a very filthy rich person out there that wants to, underwrite us, we could take that with no problem at all.
Maybe they're out there somewhere.
I know.
Cool. Tom Kennedy, Hike for Mental Health. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. I appreciate it.
So what I usually do.
Oh no! Now I remember. It's if people treated physical illness like they do mental health stuff. So people often say, "Oh, we'll toughen up and get over it," or something like that. And it was like a picture of someone with their wrist cut off, bleeding. That's what it was.
Gotcha.
Got it.
Yeah.
Took me a second there, but nailed it.
I'm with you. Good job, Megan. Good job.
Thank you. Sometimes it takes a lot of effort to be a person and put words together.
It does.
Really good idea that I'd be on a podcast. Really great idea.
No, you're the best. Can't think of
boy.
Who else would be better for this. Nobody.
I'm going to keep telling myself that, or at least trying to. So anyways.
Yeah. So not only is Miss Janet doing her gear shakedowns, but they actually had like an official, like a gear shakedown station set up at the arch.
Oh.
Like right at the arch where the approach trail starts. There's also, like some benches and some room for them to do things like that. There's a pavilion and picnic tables. So there, all day, every day while we were up at the lodge, giving talks and, checking out gear and whatnot, they were down there, getting advice from ridge runners.
Oh, that's great. What better people to get advice from than ridge runners? I mean, that's perfect.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I loved all of the ridge runners that we ran into.
I ran into a ridge runner down in Georgia who gave me my first ride to town ever. And then again up in like Pennsylvania, like he was ridge running in 2 different states.
Same guy?
It was like same guy.
Oh, that's
same
cool.
guy. It was like I don't know, serendipitous, a very serendipitous moment. And I cannot for the life of me remember his damn trail name. I would have to search Facebook.
Was it the guy with the mohawk?
No.
That was a different guy. Tell us
The
what
guy with the tattoos and little corn cob pipe sort of thing. I don't know if it was actually a corn cob pipe, but it looked like that.
Tell us what a ridge runner is and what they do.
Ridge runners live on the trail for their given period of time, and they live within their section. They maintain the trails. They may look after the shelters. They look after the people that are out there. They look after the land, make sure that nothing's amiss, and generally educate the people that they run into about leave no trace ethics and about the different features of their given territory. And they just in general are really awesome people.
And they're not just doing this on their own. They work for someone.
Right. Are they officially with the Park Service? Is that correct?
The ATC.
ATC. See, I never knew exactly who they worked for. So they work for the ATC. Gotcha.
ATC hires, screens, and trains ridge runners every year. And they get to wear a special shirt and not really a badge, but they have a patch. So
yes, they do. And that makes more sense, too, how he was able to go between 2 different states. Because if you worked for a state park, it wouldn't be like, going to another state to do that. Something similar would be very difficult. Now this makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah. And their territory is usually like 50 to 75 miles a trail. And they'll just, like their work week consists of start at one end and hike to the other.
Yep.
And they can, stay in whichever shelters they feel needs their presence the most. Like you said, they educate hikers. They clean the privies.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Yeah. The ridge runners are also muck
that
breakers.
means we should be bowing down to them every single time we run into them, basically.
Oh, dude, without ridge runners, the trail falls apart.
Yeah. Like who wants to... I mean, a lot of people don't even like privies to begin with. Who wants to be cleaning that shit? Literally cleaning that shit. These people do it for probably very little money. And they love what they do because they're great people and they love the trail and they love the people. So.
Yeah, so there's plenty of ridge runners at the kickoff, and they're usually either through hikers or people with some significant long distance or outdoors experience. And, they're great educators, and they're also all so friendly and helpful. It almost makes you want to puke. They're just so
they
nice.
really, really care. They care so hard about everything, the people and the trail, the land, all of it, nature.
Oh,
just care so hard.
Yeah, you can tell. Yep. They're good people.
Definitely.
Good people. Mm-hmm.
What was that noise you just made?
Good people. Mm-hmm.
Was that an accent from North Carolina, or is that like a...
never mind. Okay. What else was I going to say? Okay. Guess who showed up at the kickoff?
Zach Davis.
No, that's a good guess though.
Wait, can I have another one?
Oh, sure. Why not? You can have as many as you like.
Was it? I'm gonna let's play a game now. I'm gonna ask you questions about it. Is it a famous thru hiker?
No.
Oh, famous trail angel?
No.
Not a thru hiker, but around the trail.
You've got the word famous correct. You have the right adjective.
Oh my God! Was Reese Witherspoon there?
What? No.
Wow, no Cheryl Strait. I got all excited.
Oh my God, no.
Bill Bryson.
Less famous than Bill Bryson.
Less famous than Bill Bryson? I probably don't know.
Maybe famous isn't the right word. How about beloved?
Beloved? I mean, obviously, the first person that comes to mind is Miss Janet.
Okay, maybe beloved's not the right word. How about known? Okay, maybe known isn't
But
the right
known
word.
but not a thru hiker?
How about this? How about hyperactive but harmless?
Hyperactive but harmless? Now I'm getting scared.
So I'll give you another hint. Amicalola Falls is only about an hour away from North Atlanta.
Oh, Daniel was there.
Our good friend Daniel joined us at the kickoff this weekend.
That's exciting. Hyperactive but harmless. I get it. I don't need to be afraid. Daniel's not scary at all.
No.
He makes balloon animals. How can anybody who makes balloon animals be scary except if they're a clown? Now that I'm saying this out loud, I'm realizing that people with a fear of clowns wouldn't enjoy that. But
dude, Daniel is so excited. He and his wife Deidre drove up to the kickoff to hang out with us, and
oh my gosh, he must have had a blast.
Yeah, well, he did, and I gave him the portable studio. I gave him the microphone and unleashed him on the crowd.
You unleashed Daniel on everybody.
I did.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So you know who Ron Burger is, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Ron Burger is the guy who up until recently was the coordinator for ALDHA, the Appalachian Long Distance Hikers Association, and I've got about 20 minutes audio of Daniel and of Daniel interviewing Ron. And
oh my gosh, really? Oh,
I mean, you know how Daniel is. You know how Ron is. I think Ron is 74, 75, something like that. He's in his 70s. Ron's an old dude, and Daniel is in his early 30s, I think. So it was just like one of those. It was one of those like, tell me stories, Grandpa. Like one of those moments.
Yeah, I can picture that.
Yeah, there's a lot of background noise though, so that one's kind of hard to listen to. But I'm gonna have
Can you get fancy with your editing? Is that a thing?
I think so. I think I might be able to figure that out.
Hello, hikers. I sound fuzzy, not because I forgot to shave, but because I'm on the phone. I'm actually leaving a message for the show on the new hotline for Stories from the Trail. And I would like you guys to call it and tell me your stories. The number is 828-365-8041. And that should be really easy to remember because 828 is the area code for Asheville. 365 is the number of days in the year, and 8041 is the last four digits of the phone number for Stories from the Trail. 828-365-8041. Give us a call. Each time you call, you might get to hear some helpful advice from me, or you might not. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, check it out. Bye.
Oh, are you recording?
Yeah.
Now?
So what is the ALD?
Oh, let me get him over here. He's a better talker.
Okay. You're a better talker?
I doubt that.
Okay.
ALDHA stands for the Appalachian Long Distance Hikers Association.
Okay.
We are one of the rare hiking clubs. We are focused on the hikers.
Okay.
The other 31 clubs are focused on infrastructure. We tend to focus on the hikers. Such things as we have a number of different ALDHA programs. Basically, if you take a look, we have about 12 different programs.
Okay.
One of the programs is ALDHA Care.
Okay.
There are about 80 hostels along the trail. About 50 are donation type, where people leave off money, or they're low cost. They have a hard time making it. So every year at this time, what it is before the large group gets there, we give them a list. We give them a box of cleaning supplies.
Oh, cool.
And then every year, the other thing we do is we put out a newsletter periodically on the Appalachian Trail. The other thing we do is for members only. We put out a directory for members only.
Okay.
It's done by alphabetically. by state, city, and actually trail names. So people can use this. Our hikers, 1,800 hikers, have hiked over 250 trails.
Good God.
So if you look at it, it's a resource. If you want to hike a trail, you look in your state and look at the abbreviation, and there's a good chance you're going to find somebody there. And our membership is only $10. We're a nonprofit organization. The other thing we do is for ATC, for 25 years, we have put out the Companion. The Companion is written by 40 people. For 25 years, we have a great knowledge. They go out in October and hike the trail and find out what's changes. They talk to the hostel owners, they talk to the town owners, they talk to the infrastructure people. And we put it out. It's a great.
What is a hostel? I've never been to a hostel. What is it? Is it like? I mean, what's the difference between a hostel and like a shelter? I've never been to.
Okay, a shelter is a 3-sided figure with a floor.
Okay, that's
in the
it.
woods.
And that's it.
A hostel is a house.
They have bathrooms and stuff?
In the house, yes, in the hostel. Just think of a house.
Okay.
Like a rooming house.
Yeah.
It's got 10 rooms or 5 rooms.
So like a barracks kind of.
A barracks. A military barracks is a great way to describe it. But there you have kitchen privileges.
Oh, really?
The hostel owner will take you to town to get your food.
Okay.
There's showers there. There's laundry there. Okay, the important thing for a hiker is basically getting a shower, because you're on the trail, you are filthy.
Right.
Salt. The other thing is you want to wash your clothes because they smell you a mile away. The next thing, the most important thing you do is you want food, real food, a cheeseburger, a hamburger, or for me, root beer floats when you get into town.
I can get behind that.
What's your favorite kind of root beer?
It doesn't matter. As long as it's root beer and as long as it's got vanilla ice cream in it, I love it. In fact, bad days, when I'm having a bad day, if I'm in town, I'm going to have 2.
Wow. Okay, cool. Okay.
And in addition to that, what we have is every year we have what we call the gathering. The gathering is a coming together of hikers. We started in the south in Abington, Virginia. This year we happen to be in Pennsylvania at Shippensburg, and in 19 we're up on the border between Vermont and New Hampshire. We'll have it there near Mount Greylock. And what it is we have hikers that through all 14 states. We have hikers all over the United States. So we try to move it around so that the hikers in different parts of the country can show up. So at the gathering is composed of Friday night we meet together. We got 400 people. What we do is we do the call out. The people that have just completed the trail, either section hiked it or through hiked it, basically one by one we call them up on stage and we give them a certificate, a patch, a letter, and a 2,000 mile reward, and 400 people welcome them to the class of 18. And then we do our roll call. Stand up, whoever completed the trail in 2017, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 10.
What is considered a trail? Like how long?
No, the Appalachian Trail.
Oh, just the Appalachian.
Just the Appalachian Trail.
Okay.
Just the Appalachian Trail, because that's what we tend to focus on. And then after that, we usually have a speaker, a big name speaker who's hiked all over the world, done hundreds of trails. Then what we do is we have classes all day, Saturday and Sunday, on different hikes around the world. You can literally hike different trails around the world by listening to the speakers.
Wow.
And we bring in a big name speaker. Then we have a work trip after. Our work trips are composed of 2 parts. One, trail work with one of the 31 clubs. The second one is what we call boundary work. Boundary work is basically the Appalachian Trail has a swath of land. It has borders on each side. People like to build on those borders. Hunters like to put their deer stands on them.
Okay.
Bike riders like to do it. And what it is we mark them to control it. It's so much fun because you use a map and compass.
Oh, wow.
Another thing that we do is basically we talk to hikers and we do things like planning for the Appalachian Trail. We don't talk about gear unless they ask us to. Basically, it's all the thought process, the mental process that goes into planning a long-distance hike.
Which is
leave no trace, plan ahead and prepare, which is planning your hike. Are you going to hike? Are you going to start? When are you going to start? Okay, you're going to start in the south. You're going to be a flip-flopper, start in the middle and go north, and then come back and go south. Or you're going to start in the middle, go north, swing around, come down to Georgia, go back up. Or you're going to start in the north and come down. What time of year are you going to do it? Winter or summer? Those are some thoughts. Not only that, how much money do you have? you better have about $6,000.
Really?
It's cheaper in the south than it is in the north.
Yeah.
So you got to have that. Okay, what kind of gear are you gonna get? You better get quality gear, not the most expensive, but gear that's going to last. You got to realize you're going to go through 3 pairs of shoes.
How do you know what kind of gear is
There is
good?
so much literature out there; it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
You are going to have to experiment with gear.
Yeah.
Okay, you can read the books. Everybody can tell you what to get, but talk again. How do you know what kind of gear? You take our directory. You call somebody in your area that's hiked the Appalachian Trail. Ask them to meet them and ask them to see what it is. You can go to REI, who will sell you a room full of gear.
Yeah, they will. I was there a couple weeks ago.
The other thing is you can go to what we call the niche people. These are individuals who have hiked trails and decided that this is the best kind of gear.
Okay.
Then what you want to, or you can go to, the other thing that we have is we have what we call the Northern Ruck. It meets in Northern Virginia. The last week in February, we invite wannabe hikers, long-distance hikers to hike. And we talk about everything from A to Z about hiking. Planning your hike, just like I went through. The gear you want to consider. You need a sleeping bag, or you can use a comforter. Oh, what's the difference? Well, one you get into and one you throw on top. It's all about weight. Do you want to do a minimalist, which I don't recommend for beginners, or basically, do you want to have a reasonably light pack, but not necessarily a minimalist? A minimalist doesn't carry a stove. That's a mistake. Hypothermia will kill you.
Yeah.
Okay, a stove is the only one that's good. If you go to bed cold, I don't care when it is, you're going to stay cold. So what you do is you get water, you put it in a water bottle, you take that to bed with you. Ooh, that's good stuff. Or you have a hot drink. When you wake up in the morning, you got water, which counts. So those are the things you got to think. You're going to get wet.
Well, what kind of knowledge do you need to have, like first aid and I don't know, just like knowledge? What kind of knowledge do you need to have?
You need more than knowledge. The best thing you can do is start going out and doing day hikes, then go to overnight hikes. You'll develop the knowledge. Yes, knowing something about map and compass is key. It's the same thing about understanding little things like ticks. Ticks are the biggest pain on the trail. They're a problem. What do? You don't take a match to get it out.
I hear they suck.
Yes, they do. and so do chiggers. Chiggers get under your skin and they stay there. Well, you need to know how to handle what happens when you get it. If you get a tick and you remove it with tweezers, then all of a sudden it turns red and it gets a bullseye. That's a big signal. The big signal is you probably have something known as Lyme's disease. Okay. And it's the same thing. We have norovirus. That is a virus. Hand sanitizer kills bacteria, but it doesn't do a good job on the viruses. So guess what? You got to wash your hands. So at night when you boil your water with your stove that you should carry, as opposed to not carry, you leave a little bit of water and you wash your hands in a plastic bag with soap. You rinse them off. You disperse the water properly. That way, you stay away. Other thing like norovirus, you want to put it on a small tablecloth where you put your food and your spoon, because we don't know where the heck it's coming from. Water, I don't care. Water, you filter your water,
right,
whether you like it or not. Okay. If you get sick, your problem. So you got to understand that. You got to understand chiggers. You got to understand ticks. Okay, you got to understand bee stings. Bees are bad in late September and October.
Okay.
You get stung. Do you react to it? If you react to it, you better know you use Sting-Ease and immediately you go to Benadryl. Those are some simple wilderness first aid kinds of things you need to know. Vitamin I, we call it. That's ibuprofen. That's the big thing on the trail. Okay, poison ivy. Through hikers, what they do is they tuck duct tape, put it over top of it, and isolate it.
Really?
I've heard that.
I've never heard that.
Okay.
That's
well,
interesting.
It's not a great idea, but that's what they do. So those are the kinds of things. If you attend the ruck, if you attend things like this, if you talk to hikers, you'll start to develop their knowledge.
How will you know? How will you know when you're like, okay, I've gotten enough. I think I can do it.
Good.
How will you know?
How you know that? Confidence.
Yeah.
And if you haven't gone out on a week backpacking trip, you don't have the confidence. Okay? And confidence is key. What'll kill you more than anything on long distance hike is this. Your mental state.
Okay.
You've got to be focused. It's like a lot of through hikers, long distance hikers, what they do is they go to a trail town and they stay overnight. And then they stay another night. No, you Neros. You're 8 miles out of town, you hike in, before lunch so you can have lunch, real food, a couple of dozen hamburgers, a whole freaking pizza, okay?
Right,
because
right.
that's how hungry you are, okay? And then you get your shower because you stink. You go wash your clothes because you stink. You get your food pre-prep, you put it together, you go out and have another dinner, then you go out and have a dessert. The next morning you get up and have a bodacious breakfast, get a ride to the trail, and you're gone. If you stay in town and live the soft life, you're going to lose your focus. Not only that, as opposed to $6,000, now we're looking at $8,000.
Yeah.
Maybe once every 3 weeks, whatever suits you. You go to a motel and you just cool your heels. Oh, the other thing is blisters. Blisters are always a problem.
Yeah.
They are a definite problem. What people fail to do is change your insoles. Your shoes may be okay, but you ought to change your Runner Magazine did a study a long time ago. After 100 miles, throw your shoes away. Well, most runners don't do that. But if you change your insoles, get good insoles, not the ones that just come with your shoes.
Interesting. Okay.
Those are all some of the things you do when you talk to hikers. When you hit the trail, you're going to meet people. Poles are important. Okay? Start out slow. Start out slow doing your 8 miles. Mm-hmm. You got to go for roughly a month before you start to feel good, maybe 3 weeks. Even then, keep it in the 15 to 20 mile range. You get up to the flatlands or the lands that are less intense, then you can start pushing your 25s or 30s, whatever works for you. You don't get rid of your winter gear, even though it may be 90 degrees down here, until you get to the end of the Shenandoahs, because that's the last 4,000 foot peak you have. And you get your gear back when you hit New Hampshire. New Hampshire, you slow down to 10 to 12 miles a day.
That's what I've heard.
You get your puffy, you get your rain gear, not the rain, but you want it for wind protection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You work your way through Maine. Great talking to you.
Now,
thank you.
Did Daniel get an opportunity to watch a shakedown or view the process?
No, we're going to do that for him.
Oh, we're gonna do it for him. Oh,
yeah, well, actually, Daniel's gonna he's gonna get a nice little head start by the first pack he ever carries is already going to be shaken down.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so it's not. I don't know. Does it count as a shakedown if you're already shaken down?
Well,
I don't know.
At this point, see, like I'm actually going to throw together an ultralight kit that I'm going to use for our trip, and I'm going to have him carry it, and I'm going to carry a luxury kit for him. So he's going to
you guys are going to swap packs?
Yeah, we're going to swap packs. So just, because I want him to have a good time, so I'm going to carry this, the heavier of the two.
That's a great idea, but also kind of sounds like a fun activity for people to do with each other. Hey, how about this? For couples, you go hiking, you carry each other's gear.
And that way
and then you can complain to each other.
Yeah. And that way, like if you don't make it to camp by sunset and I've got your stuff, I get to wear a dress and no one's there to laugh at me.
Yeah. And you don't get food because food is a few miles behind you.
Yeah. If you're going to split your gear with your partner, don't give one person all of the food.
No, that's just a joke. That's not actual advice. Please don't play that game. It's actually dangerous. So...
Let's see. Can you hear this?
It was a bad idea.
Yeah, but I had other stuff. Is it just gonna?
Could you hear that?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Now press pause. Now we'll just come back and hear it.
Okay.
So you're just starting a new
chicken salad.
New wave file.
LaCroix, nice. We're waiting for the restaurant right now. Did her aunt come down here?
Okay, so we've got Daniel's hanging out at the table with us, and my friend Don Smith showed up, who's he's a hiker. He's hoping to through hike someday. And Daniel,
one of your Facebook friends turned real friends.
Yeah, yep. And Daniel asked him some questions.
What is your quest?
To stay alive.
There you go.
1 foot at a time.
What's your favorite color?
Blue. So.
Do you mean green?
Yellow.
Oh, he screwed up already.
He
screwed up already.
You see.
So like this is the kind of deep investigative journalism that you can expect when you give Daniel the microphone.
You can expect that from Daniel.
Let's see if this goes anywhere.
Really hard-hitting stuff.
Yeah, I actually haven't listened to this yet, so I don't know if this goes anywhere. You want to spend a few minutes checking this out?
Sure.
Can you hear enough?
I'm not going anywhere.
Does it make sense? Can you hear it? Is it clear?
Yeah.
Yellow was my favorite when I ran. So.
Say your name and where you're from and anything you want.
Okay, yeah, I will be glad to. My name is Don Smith. I'm from Grayson, Georgia, in Gwinnett County, and I'm a big fan of Gary Sizer and his books. I think they tell it like it is. A lot of humor.
That's not why I picked this clip.
I was like, oh, Gary, yeah, you haven't listened to this, huh?
It keeps your attention, and that's what makes the book so good. I've read a lot of books on the AT.
I mean, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. But...
and some are better than others. Some are very boring. And Gary's nowhere close to that. And it's a pleasure to see him every year here. So good luck in the future. I want to see more books.
You're planning to hike someday, right?
Someday. I just turned 60, and I might have to section hike, which, I have a special needs son. I can't take off for 5 or 6 months at a time. Time doesn't allow me to do that. But, I feel very close to the people that do it because I know what it feels like to have a big heart to try something like that. So that's very important. And that's what keeps you alive.
And you come to the kickoff almost every year, don't you?
I do.
It's like your 3rd year, 4th year here?
Yeah. And I meet a lot of people that I might not see again until next year. And that's the amazing thing. And, I met a gentleman last night, Strider. He's done the Pacific Crest. He's done the AT. He's doing the AT again the end of this month. And he's going to turn around and do the Pacific Crest again when he gets done with that. And he's almost my age, and that was very inspiring. So I was like, dude, man. So he hasn't done the Continental, and he was telling me about it. I know nothing about the Continental. So, am I getting off track? I hope not.
Well, the Continental draft happened a long time ago.
Yeah.
And that's how the Indians got here. Right?
Yeah. You're thinking of it different.
Gary, you have any plans for the AT? And I'm interviewing you.
No.
Okay.
We're just hanging out. We're not.
Are you ever plan on?
I'm going back to the AT as often as I can now. I'm section hiking it for my second go around, and I don't have any goal set for I want to be done by 2035 or just whenever.
No goals are good.
I love that the trail is there, and that I could keep going back to it.
Yeah,
that's the best thing about being a section hiker.
That's
Our
right.
tax dollars at work.
And I'll tell you something. Hikers are like runners. Okay, it's the same group. People got big hearts, and they work hard, and that's why I'm kind of leaning that way.
What do you like to eat when you're camping?
Oh, we'll save the food stuff for later.
Yeah. Oh, that's so sweet. He sounds like a really nice guy.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. And we hang out at the campfire. He usually stays down at, I think that I would describe, the field that's across the street from the visitor center. I didn't describe that. That's, they call it Tent City. I think there were
that's Tent City.
Yeah, there were only like 40 or 50 tents there this year. By comparison, trail days, it's usually several hundred.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
So it's still,
I've never been to trail days, so I didn't realize how. I mean, I knew it was big, but
it's still a small enough gathering that you can get everybody around the fire.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's really sweet.
And
he sounds so lovely.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. I got a couple more minutes of us talking to him, but I think we'll save that for the food episode because we talk about food.
Oh, yeah.
What else do I have here? Oh, so the campfire and the general scene down at Tent City is pretty cool. We consider that the living room, and we talk when we say we're going up to the lodge, we say we're going upstairs. So, yeah, so like everybody kind of, it's like the den, the fireplace, and all of our bedrooms are down there, whatever, and we go upstairs to go to the lodge. But it's usually
that's where the food lives, right? Upstairs.
Yeah. That's where the restaurant is. I mean, downstairs, people are, somebody, who was it? I'm gonna have to check the names. I can't remember who did it, but somebody brings like a giant pot of beef stew for everybody.
Gotcha.
Odie usually.
I know
Odie
we probably should be talking about this at the food episode, but
Odie is the campground coordinator for Tent City, which means that
gotcha.
He's in charge of making sure that not only is everybody, obey the rules and nobody gets in trouble, but also making sure that everybody has a good time.
Right.
And if you don't know who Odie is I call him Mr. Janet because Odie is
I like
he's
that.
rapidly becoming one of those trail angel / trail. I hate to say trail celebrity, but he's one of those people that like everybody knows Odie. At least everybody on the AT knows who he is. And
That's true.
for people who haven't been on the trail yet or around the AT community, Odie is the trail name of the guy who writes and no, I guess he doesn't write, but he compiles and publishes the Hiker Yearbook every year. I did not get a chance to spend any time in a room with a microphone and Odie because he's kind of in that same mode that Miss Janet is, where he's just if you see him, it's not quite like being in the middle of a tornado yet, but he's always got like 5 or 6 things going on, and they're always some version of helping someone with something. Yep,
that sounds like Odie.
Odie gave a nice presentation on Saturday. And he also wins the award for the longest title for a presentation on Saturday
night. And what
was
the title?
Odie gave a talk called "The Hiking Community and How We Relate to Each Other Through Our Individual Roles."
It sounds like it could be published as like a peer-reviewed article. Like someone did that for their thesis.
Oh my god! Let's see. Let's try that. So, the hiking community and how we relate to each other through our individual roles. Yeah, that's either a thesis or a self-help book.
Yeah.
But Odie's a natural. He's a good speaker. It's funny because I remember last year and the year before. Oh, he was keynote at the gathering last year, wasn't he? I think he was. I believe
so.
He was the big Saturday night presentation. But it's funny because I remember when he first started. Oh shit! I kicked my microphone. It's funny because I remember when he first started doing this, he would get so nervous before a presentation, and he would just, he was one of those guys that would get nervous and then tell you how nervous he is.
Oh yeah.
And then that would make him more nervous. But now he's like, he's smooth. I've watched him talk a couple of times, and he's fun to listen to. You can tell he really loves what he's doing. And
that's the most important thing. If you love what you're doing, then it's easier to get over any type of anxiety or fears that you have about it.
So Katie and I took the microphone on the stairs on the
stairs at Amicalola.
The stairs at Amicalola Falls.
Stairs of death. I'm kidding. They're not the stairs of death.
Oh, you know what? Let's talk about the falls for a second. Let's talk about the stairs.
The stairs or the falls?
Both.
Or both.
I'm getting ready to pull something up here. I want to read you a story. So,
this is stories from the trail, so time to get on topic.
All right, I'm gonna give a shout out to, all right. So I always give a shout out to the Trek.co because, we have to, because Zach is our unrelenting slave driver. He cracks the whip and.
Yeah.
If we get the episode if we get the episode in on time, Megan, Zach will give us a second helping of gruel at the.
Is he? Do we have times? Do we have to get our episodes in on time? Is that a thing?
No.
Oh, okay.
We just have to have more episodes out than his show. That's all that matters. Okay. All right, so I always give a shout out to the Trek. I want to give a shout out this week to Reddit.
Oh.
Yeah. I am one of the moderators at the Appalachian Trail subreddit. So if you're looking for something that's a little different than Facebook, here's how Reddit works. A lot of people are kind of thrown off by Reddit. Reddit is weird. I'll confess. It's got this weird old school look about it. That's like more words than pictures.
It's like a forum from the 90s, like an old school internet forum.
It really is. Yeah. I mean, it's really basic. Like, it does not look modern and sleek or slick at all. But once you start looking at it, like, the controls are really simple. Windows 98. Yeah. I mean, you get your front page full of stories, and every story has 2 buttons beside it, an up arrow and a down arrow. You know how you're like people are constantly complaining because they can't like unlike, there's no thumbs down button on Facebook.
Yeah.
Like, you get your thumbs down button on Reddit, and that's part of the magic of how it works. So anything that appears on the front page is there because it received more up votes than down votes. So basically, by that system, anything that is, quality or funny or helpful, in theory at least, bubbles to the top, right? Well, yeah, the thing about Reddit is it's also very categorical. So it's, there's a Reddit page for, at this point, anything you can think of. There's a Reddit page for the Appalachian Trail. There's a Reddit page for Star Wars. There's a Reddit page for left-handed bowling balls. I mean, no matter how obscure you think, there's a Reddit page there. Anyway, I'm getting too off
And those
topic.
are called subreddits, correct?
Yeah, subreddits. So subreddit is kind of like a Facebook group, but it's a little more...
so it has its own homepage.
Yeah, it's a little more tightly managed too. There's a team of moderators, and we make sure that at least we try our best to make sure people don't raise too much trouble there, or
I didn't even realize Reddit was moderated. I thought it
Mhm.
wasn't at all.
Nope.
So that's one of the reasons I've never bothered with it. So
Yep,
I just learned something new.
Yep, we delete spam, we delete trolls. Anybody. There's a certain set of rules. Anyway.
And for people who don't know what trolls are, hey mom, trolls are people on the internet who say things or stir things up just for attention, or to throw the topic of conversation off, or to push their own agenda or something like that. Right, Gary?
Yeah, I think that's about right. That's a good...
All right. So mom, that's what a troll is. All right, you can continue, Gary.
All right. So somehow all of this relates to the kickoff, and it's because there's somebody made a post on the Appalachian Trail subreddit looks like 1 day ago, maybe 2 days ago, and it was called "Did the Approach Trail Yesterday?" And I'm not going to read you the whole thing because it's there's a page and a half of notes, but basically this person they're starting their attempt at their through hike, and there's 450 stairs to get from the bottom of Amicalola Falls to the top. Nice wooden or metal grate stairs with a handrail, and this guy wrote, I guess it's a guy, this person, can't really tell, wrote this story about their experience on the just the stairs portion of the approach trail, and they said that they wound up just having a miserable time. You hear an awful lot about the stairs being challenging, and this guy basically, he said that he rested 3 times on his way up the stairs and still felt like shit at the top. Now, the reason Megan's laughing, and it's not funny. I mean, this happens a lot, and it's really sad when this happens, because this guy wound up chugging a bunch of water and then throwing up in his tent and just having a really miserable time.
Oh,
but
yeah.
The thing is, okay, so he rested 3 times on his way up the stairs. I did the stairs recently with no pack, and I rested 10 times going up the stairs, and it still kicked my ass.
Yeah.
So
yeah, stairs are I hate to sound so basic, but stairs are really the worst. They're the worst part about hiking, I think. I mean, they're nice and they're pretty, but they're so hard. And this is coming from people who enjoy the pain of hiking, whining. Stairs are just so hard.
There's something about stairs that makes you want to keep going too. When you're going up a hill, you won't even stop. You won't even think twice about, oh shit, my headphones just popped out. Hang on a second. I got to fix this. So yeah, if you're going up like an actual mountain, you won't even think twice about leaning on a tree and stopping. But something about stairs, you're just like, oh, there's one more. Oh, there's one more.
It feels like you have to keep going. I think that part of why stairs are so difficult is that mentality where there's another one. You have to keep going, and there's no natural resting spot.
Exactly.
So you just feel like you have to keep going. And if you're anything like myself, in the real world, I take stairs 2 at a time and go pretty quickly, but I'm only going up a few flights at a time. When you do stairs hiking, I try to do them at the same way that I normally do, which is pretty quickly and maybe 2 at a time. And then you attempt to do that with a pack on your back or even with no pack. And it's more than 20 stairs. It's going to knock you on your ass.
Make
your legs feel like jelly.
Oh yeah. And yeah, people get super excited. They get Katahdin fever on the approach trail and start trying to run.
Oh yeah.
One of the first
starting
people,
with a bang.
One of the first people I hiked with the year we went was a guy who had this big giant swollen injury on his ankle, and he wound up getting off the trail before he even made it to North Carolina because he pulled his Achilles tendon literally running up the approach trail because he was so excited.
Oh Jesus. Oh God, that poor guy.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I can see myself doing something like that. That's a bummer.
It's a really common thing down there too, especially this time of year when people are getting started and they're all,
people and all their enthusiasm.
Well,
oh jeez.
So Katie and I walked the stairs this weekend, and we got some audio. You want to hear it?
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, most of it's just the sound of a waterfall and like feet on stairs, but we talked to a couple of people. I want you to hear there's at least one I want you to hear. So
okay.
It might take me a minute to find it, so bear with me. Those are pretty flowers.
Those are pretty flowers.
What are those?
Isn't that a mark called bluettes?
That's Katie. Sounds like static, but that's the waterfall.
I got audio of you telling that guy good luck and have fun. I couldn't tell if he was recording or not.
All right, I'm going to jump ahead here.
Yeah.
What was your MOS?
Infantry, Lead Bravo.
Okay, so you've written stories for that website.
Yeah.
Before.
Here we go.
Yeah. You mind if I ask you if I ask you a couple of questions?
Oh, yeah, sure.
I'm recording for a podcast that's called Stories from the Trail.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the website called The Trek?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. That's who we do this for.
Oh, okay.
So,
I think I've read some of them actually. Stories from the Trail on the Trek, right?
Well, we're a podcast.
Oh, just a podcast. Okay.
Yep. So I mean, I've written stories for that website before, but yeah. So today's your first day.
Yep.
What are you worried about?
Norovirus and ticks. Ticks the most.
Okay.
Ticks. Well, other than that, no, not really.
What are you doing about it?
I'm just gonna check myself every night,
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not really sure what else you can do about it besides making sure every night, strip down in your tent and check.
You ever had Lyme disease or?
I've had ticks on me, but I've never had Lyme disease, thankfully.
You said you were in the Army.
Yeah.
What was your MOS?
Infantry, Lead Bravo.
Okay, so you're familiar with carrying heavy things up high.
Yeah. But it's been 2015, August 2015 since I've been out, so
okay.
I've definitely...
How long have you been thinking about doing this?
Since I was in Afghanistan.
Okay.
And my buddy lived in Florida, and he was telling me about it while we were on Tower Guard, and I was like, I've never heard of this before. And he's like, there's a trail that actually goes like 14 states. Because I loved hiking, But that just sounded like a true adventure, I'm sure like you felt the same way when you heard about it, right?
That's almost word for word my story,
Wow.
As soon as I found out there was such a thing as the AT, I was like, I've got to do this.
I got to do it. Have you done the PCT at all?
No. I'm not a really big fan of the desert.
Oh, okay.
I've got a water thing. I like to have water and live.
I totally respectable.
Yep. Do you have a finish date in mind, or are you just going to take it however?
See, I've read a lot of people online on the Appalachian Trials and other websites and White Blazes, the forums.
Right.
And they said after 4 days, don't plan it. It's just so impossible to plan.
Yeah.
So I'm going to wing it from
there. It's a wild ride.
Yeah.
I'm kind of jealous.
Kind of jealous again, yeah. You want to go?
Yeah. Every time I come here, I'm like, today's going to be the day that I just, my stuff's in the car. I'll see you when I get back to.
I'm the 630th, I guess, for.
No
so they said 4,000 people were registered. I don't know if you knew that.
That's
in 2014, how many did you have?
Like 2,500.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't. I mean, it helps.
But
with all
we also didn't have registration until 2015.
Oh yeah.
So all of our numbers are just based on guessing,
Yeah.
like guesswork. So it's the first time they ever recorded
That's
it.
awesome.
So well, cool. Do you mind? Will you mind say your name just for the record?
I don't
Say
have
your
a trail
name
name
and say your name, where you're from, and just anything you want anyone to know
Okay.
about anything.
Yeah. Is it on right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. My name is Matthew Fox. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio, and just try and take it one day at a time,
Nice.
Cool.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Another Buckeye.
Yeah,
I'm
another
also
Buckeye.
from Ohio.
Where from?
The opposite corner near
Oh,
Akron.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're way out
Yeah,
there.
he's from.
So you're kind of used to these mountains, right? I mean, not really mountains.
Yeah. We
Hills.
live in Asheville now.
Oh, okay.
Much better than Ohio.
My girlfriend just dropped me off, and we just came through Asheville.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
great.
oh, I love it.
Yeah.
We were at Biltmore.
Yep.
Yeah.
Are you gonna is there a way for people to follow you?
I don't really have anything. No.
Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking about creating.
I like that
Did
answer.
you create YouTube at all? Or just kind of. You have like a journal you write in?
Well, I wrote a book.
Wrote a book?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I blogged as I went. It's called Where's the Next Shelter?
Okay. Yeah, it seems like almost everybody writes a book now.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
It's cool. Yeah.
It's totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, ever since AWOL did it, everyone's like,
I've read I think 3 different books now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, thank you.
Well, you seem like you're anxious to go, man.
Yeah,
Good luck.
thank
Happy
you.
trails.
I'm kind of
and-
afraid that I'm not going to make it till spring or until sunset. Almost.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
But,
enjoy the rest of the stairs,
Thank you.
man.
Yeah, have
Happy
so
trails.
much fun.
It's nice talking to you all.
Yeah, you too.
What was your trail name?
Green Giant.
Green Giant?
Yep.
Okay.
Good to meet you, man.
Take care.
Camera. See ya.
Take care.
Yep, you too.
You made me get my second win.
Good. Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Aww. I love that. I wish I could have been there. That sounds like so great.
Yeah, I liked his answer when Katie asked him how can people follow you, and he's like, you can't. I'm not doing that.
That's good.
Yeah,
Oh
that was
man,
pretty cool.
I love meeting hikers who are so new and like inspired and excited.
Oh yeah, that guy was just radiating happiness. You could tell he was beaming. It was so it's infectious.
It really is. It really is. It reminds me of why I hiked, and I love that. Dang it! I wish I could have gone.
Yeah, that dude said that he was number 630 already.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's insane. That's okay. So that's one of the things
That
about
was like.
Good.
I'm trying to think of the date that you actually did that. That's like the 3rd and 4th. That was just this past weekend. So the 3rd and 4th of March. So not even a full week into March, and already over 600 people have started.
Incredible. Do you remember what your number was?
We had numbers for our year.
Say again.
I wish we had numbers for 2014 so I could get like a concept of how many people had hiked before me.
They were
like, had started
counting
before me.
people in Harper's Ferry.
That's true. I got a number in Harper's
If you got your
Ferry,
picture
but-
taken at Harper's Ferry, they wrote a number on it in magic marker on your Polaroid.
Yeah, I got a number on my Polaroid.
Kind of put things in
but-
perspective. I was. What is going on here? Oh, no, the audio is still playing in the background. That's funny. I didn't know that recording was still playing. I was like, "What's that sound?"
I heard
Shit, I
it.
forget what I was going to say. Oh, yeah. So that guy was number 630, and this is the first week in March. My number was 1225 because I remember it was Christmas. 1,225, but we started in May.
Right.
So by this time, by May of this year, there will be at least 4,000 people have registered to go northbound this year.
My God.
That's insane.
That
So
is insane.
So that's what the ATC and all of the trail maintainers and the volunteers and the clubs are kind of, I don't want to say up against because it's not like an us against them thing, but
That's why they're so important. That's why what they do is essential, and why we need to make sure that they have as much help as they can get.
And that's why we do things like the kickoff because, as boring as it sounds, class is about hiking, this is where people go to learn just how to not have a 95-pound pack, but also how to properly take a shit in the woods or, what to do with your trash instead of throwing it into the fire pit and just things that people just take for granted. One of the things
alternate hikes so that you, maybe to reduce the number of northbounders and try a different way to hike that might work for you and also be a little bit more friendly to the land and to the trail.
and the people who live and work around it.
Exactly.
Yeah, because it's a community. It really is. It is a community, and it takes a community effort to keep the thing running. And that's one of the things I love about events like the kickoff and the gathering is that, that's when the community actually gets together. Throughout the year, we're stretched out across 3,000 miles, walking single file. It's a good chance to get everybody in the same room together. I recommend it for anyone who's interested, not just planning a through hike, but, you just want to learn what that community is like. There's plenty of room at the fire. Come on down.
Yeah, you don't have to be a through hiker or even be planning to be a through hiker ever to get involved and to want to be a part of it and want to learn about it.
Exactly.
We're not an exclusive club. We'll share our slop with you.
They let me in. We can't be that exclusive.
Exactly. Cool. Somehow the two of us got in, so.
We snuck in the back door.
We snuck in. They didn't even know we were coming. Now they can't get rid of us. Take that. I can't do your old man voice. I really want to learn how to do it, though. I don't know.
You sound like a door that needs oiled.
I can't even do an old lady voice, so I'm not
Give it
good
time.
at voices.
Give it time.
I've got this one voice. I'm stuck with it.
That's a good joke.
It's what I got.
Maybe they didn't hear me.
Not really.
Okay. All right.
What?
Stories from the Trail is a production of thetrek.co. Zach Davis, editor-in-chief. Your hosts are Gary Sizer and Megan Thompson, with music by Lee Rosevere. Guy Who Yells Oglethorpe was performed by Chris Van Riper, known on the trail as Vanch. This episode was recorded partially on location at Amicalola Falls State Park Visitors Center and at the Lodge, and mixed, edited, and recorded here in Blanket Fort Studios, which is just me in my basement with a blanket over my head. Thanks for listening. I'm Gary Sizer, Green Giant. Happy trails.
And lightening up through mid-morning and into the early afternoon. Be safe for your travels.